Okay, so a few reminders. 2 reflections are due like right now. Just remember, this is our last class together, and you will have a reflection next week. So don't forget about that. That tends to be the one everybody forgets about. I do want you to know that I just had a quick look through Avenue to Learn, and there's 90 students in this class, and not many of them, and I suspect it's none of you. So out of 90 students in this class, 15 are still at least 15 are in some form of meeting the expectations for a continuous course, okay? I really don't want to put an F on anyone's transcript. It really, really saddens me deeply. We want to be as flexible as we possibly can. So if it's you, please talk to me. Please talk to Laura. We'll work something out, okay? You don't want to do that. I want to draw your attention to the fact that March, a week from today, is the last update. So you can't meet the expectations. It's better to have a W on your transcript than an F for sure. Okay, so I just wanted to remind you that. And March 18th is the last date for resume reviews too. Okay, so not everybody has booked in yet. So please, please do that. Laura is actually only with us until March 30th. That's when her contract ends. So the more you guys can do for us now, get things in, the more Laura can devote her time to helping me tidy all of this up and efficiently and get your marks into Mosaic for the end of the term. So just think that you're helping us by getting ahead of the game. And these are pretty simple exercises that we've got. It's probably way more fun than calculus or organic chemistry. So maybe just try to do that first, and we will be very grateful. Okay, so wanted to remind you that last week we talked about elevator speeches, and I challenged you to think about what that might be for you. Anybody give that a little bit of thought? Okay. So would anybody like to try a version of an elevator speech? Just impromptu? Remember, practice is really important. You know, I had a student on Tuesday he enacted the whole scene for me. It was fantastic. And I get it. That's really, really brave. And I get it. That's not everybody. And many of you don't feel comfortable doing that. But I wonder if any of you do. Just give it a try. I've got cookies. Yes?
Yeah. So you guys just go then?
Sure.
My name is Sean. I'm a second-year biochemistry student studying at McMaster University. Who are you? And how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Okay. You could add maybe a little bit more detail. Yeah. Like the first, very clearly spoken, very, very direct and right to the point. Then maybe just connect with the person and say, you know, I'm really interested in your work in this activity. You know, if you knew the person.
Okay, so I'm pretending like it's somebody that I know.
Or or say something about your passion. I'm really interested in getting involved in cancer.
Okay.
Yeah, again, you have to know the people. That's where the prep comes in. Okay, all right. Thank you, John. That was a really great attempt. And yeah, of course, your elevator speech is actually going to vary depending on who you're talking to, right? Cookie is talking to John. So anyone else here to give it a whirl? Cookies are on the table. Yeah. Mackenzie, right? Mackenzie.
So I'm actually a second year technical student at Master, and I'm interested in
very good. Very good. Short, to the point, right? Very good. Cookie for Mackenzie. Did you end up getting that thing into Trillium Health? Good for you. Sweet. Anyone else like to give it a whirl? Yes.
So my name is Sarah. I'm a second year
very concise. To the point. Lovely. Okay. Cookie for Sarah. It's actually cookie and a coffee. There's a free coffee in there. So don't- There you go. I'm very impressed. Anyone else like to give it a go? Okay, Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Skaki. I'm in second year of my master's in the molecular biology and genetics program. Your career really sparked my interest, and I would love to hear more about your career path and how you achieved your position next.
Very nice. You showed that you knew something a little bit about the person you were talking to, and you're very clear to the point. Perfect. Rebecca gets a cookie. Okay, how many more cookies? Okay. 2 more cookies and coffee in here. It's a wagon wheel. I know. We had a big argument about, is a wagon wheel really a cookie? Or not? I think it is. Did you ever go test it? So I see your picture. Okay.
Hi there, my name is Jasmine Thornhill. I'm a second year student at McMaster University, currently enrolled in the molecular biology and genetics program. I'm really interested in genetics and genetic research, and I hope to work with you in the future.
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to ask for a job, right?
Yeah, don't ask for it.
Sorry.
Yeah, but you can work on that last part. Yeah, good work, good work. Good work. See, it's not hard. What's hard is putting yourself out there, right? And doing it in front of our peers, because it feels weird. I feel weird doing it too, but thank you for being brave. I've got one more cookie, but I'm going to save that for a prize for later. Okay, thank you all for putting yourself out there in that way. So this week we're talking about professionalism, and I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I need to switch my screens here because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So what I want you to do, so for those of you online, I'm just going to read this out because I can't share the screen and to the projector at the same time. So I want you to go to menti.com and use the code 97459290. And I'm just curious to know what, actually, I'm just going to I'll put the link in the chat here. Oh my gosh, we got a lot of people online here. I had no idea. So I'm just curious to know what comes to mind when you hear that word professionalism. Anything off the top of your head? What are the words that you can put in 3 to 5 options? It can be a phrase too. It doesn't have to be a single word. Boundaries. That was an interesting first one. Well-dressed, disciplined, competence, organized. Lots of input here. Appropriate. Language, respectful, etiquette, specialized, career, autonomy. What will be our key words in our word cloud? I'm always curious to know what people think. Mature, leader, groomed, punctual, time management, routine-based, organized, serious, diplomatic. So it looks like we're kind of getting a tie in here around respectful and discipline. I'm curious about what you mean about that word discipline. Does anybody care to elaborate if anyone put that in here? I've got a lot of people online too. Yes.
What comes to mind, like meeting deadlines on this, like to write
Yeah. Discipline around your work ethic,
Yeah.
getting stuff done when you need to. Yeah.
not
Okay.
not coming late.
Yeah. It could mean a lot of things. things, but I think that's most likely what this means in this context. Okay, so let's go back to our presentation, and I'm going to share this again. I hope. All right, so some thoughts about professionalism. There we go, finally. So this is a quote. When you do the boring work and you do it well, about 10% of the time you get to do the fun stuff. You get to dress something up, you get to make it look cooler, you get to solve a problem. And if you do that well, you get to do a little more of it, and then a little more. Sometimes you have to dedicate yourself to the drudgery and doing the legwork that's not fun or glamorous. So this is an interesting quote, and I've just been recently reminded that when I was your age, I kind of felt in many ways that I'm so competent, I know all this stuff, it's amazing. I could do this, you know, I can jump right in there, I can do more. And yet in certain circumstances, it's kind of like, you know, you have to know your place, you know, you're just a beginning employee. And I've been reminded of that because my daughter was very frustrated with the work that she was in. And she would, what her opinion was incompetence from the top down, and have all kinds of ideas. And I know she's smart and I know she's got great ideas. And I just had to say, Emma, you know, like sometimes you got to put in the work, you got to put in the time, just keep trying, share your good ideas. Eventually, you will be rewarded. And I think that's what this quote is all about. There is hard work. You have to put in the time. You have to start somewhere. You have to build your experience. You have to build the trust that I know when you come to work, I can just say, hey, could you go do that for me? And I know you're going to do it, right? You have to build that trust. It does take a while, and I know it can be very frustrating at this stage of your career. So this is a quote from Adam Savage from Mythbusters. And this is, in fact, the answer to your quiz this week, Savage. So anyone online listening, hopefully if you can give me a thumbs up to let me know that you got the quiz answer there. Adam Savage. So professionalism, general expectations. What are the general expectations? What is a given? Okay, thanks, Moran, for letting me know. So competence. You guys are learning all sorts of amazing things in your classes and your labs and other things you do. And when you come to the job, you know what your job is. I expect you to be competent, right? But I know that, I trust that, because you're all smart students. So competence is a minimum, that's expected. I really need a clicker. I'm going to advocate for a clicker for me for next semester. Maturity. Maturity is, I mean, it's a complex word, of course, but I can tell you that I've met students in first year, and then 4 years later, I've gone to do a site visit with them in their co-op placement. And it's like, oh my God, who are you? It's just the confidence and the maturity and the growth and development. It's just amazing. I know you came as adults to MAC, but you're going to be a very different adult when you graduate. Okay. And that's maturity. It's partly emotional maturity. And, you know, we can all grow in that category, including myself. So respect for self, respect for others, problem solving. You know, in a job, it's expected that you're not always going to say, oh my God, I don't know what to do, or what do I do with this? You can solve lots of problems yourself, okay? So before you check in with 20 people and ask, how do I do this? Try to sort it out yourself, right? Why not? I mean, like, information is at our fingertips these days. Most of us can find out stuff. You're all very good at it, probably better than I am. And the last thing that is expected in terms of professionalism is perseverance. And I've seen this specifically with some of my site visits for co-op, for instance. So I don't know whether you guys know this or not, but every lab that you do, every experiment you do in your classes is an old, tried and true experiment that's not meant to fail. It's meant to react the same way every time so that you can gather your results and get it in a 3-hour time period. Okay, that's what it's designed to do. However, in the real world, sometimes you don't know exactly what the protocol is. You don't know how much of solution A and solution B, or how many, how warm should it be, or, you don't have these things. So it's a lot about experimentation. And I have talked to employers and supervisors who have said, your students are amazing. Like when they hit a wall, they just say, hey, okay, well, this didn't work. All right, what could I change next time? They log it, they categorize it, and then they figure it out, right? This is something that all of you should be able to do. It's persevering through failure, right? You are going to fail. We all fail. And it's all about, I wonder what happened there. Well, let me see. I'm going to examine that, and I'm going to do it again. So it's really important that you be able to not be devastated by that failure. So those are the minimum expectations, but what about unwritten rules? I'm going to say that I would say attitudes is a very important concept here. Attitudes about the work itself, attitudes about your boss, attitudes about the company, about the workload, about something else that's happening. I know we all have stressors and we all have challenges and come upon difficulties and circumstances. And I hope that you all have significant others in your life that you can take it home and vent about it. But it just does not belong in the workplace. Absolutely. So what about conflict? The way you manage conflict could be a bone of contention. So some of us, when there's conflict, it's sort of like, okay, well, I think I'll go now. And then others are going to sit around and fight over an issue. And then there's a collaborative way to handle conflict. I see we're not agreeing on this, and it looks like we're kind of at an impasse. So I don't know, what do you think we should do? Regroup, put down some ideas, come back and compare. You've got to be able to manage conflict. You're not always going to agree with things. Your approaches, are you slow and steady, or are you just a get her done kind of person, mistakes and all? Are you collaborative? Are you over collaborative? I mean, I think one is just as bad as being collaborative is good, but you can be over collaborative, right? Sometimes you have to just sort things out on your own. Just make an executive decision and say, I like it. I'm going to go with this. Do your values align with the company? So, just as a really simple example, what if you worked at the Y, but you yourself did not make very healthy lifestyle choices? That's really a conflict in values that could be an issue at work. Communication styles. I think it's really good to establish preferences right at the beginning. So for instance, if you've got a new job, what if you have a quick question? What do I do? Right? So say to your boss, if I have a quick question, what do I do? Do you mind if I knock on your door and interrupt you? Is that disruptive, or would you rather me just email? Right? Just set the ground rules. You can do it. You can take that initiative yourself. It's better to know than bother someone when they're in the middle of something, and then that becomes potentially a conflict. So I just wanted to show you a bit of a case study. And this is what got me starting to think about the professional readiness score that we're piloting right now. And looking at the number of students and their effort in 2COO. And I noticed a difference right away. So some students do the minimum that's expected, and that's fine. That's what we ask you to do. Some students go beyond that. Some students don't even reach the minimum expectation. But what we find with the students who are here and above, there are certain qualities that we attribute. And those are a good work ethic, a good attitude, your approach, your values, and maturity. So these are really the things that are going to set you apart. Remember, competence is given, right? These are going to be the things that set you apart in your world, in your working world, professional world. And what I want to point out is that I know university is competitive. We're always talking about grade points, but this has nothing to do with grade points. These are all behaviors. You can change all these behaviors. Maybe you're over here now, but nothing to do with grade points. You can move yourself along that continuum and improve all of those things with a little bit of reflection and thinking about what is best in the situation, right? So don't dismay if you're not the top student. It doesn't matter. These are truly the most important things that you need. So this is just a joke. Well, I didn't read any co-op documents this year. We didn't have cover letters. We just had resumes, but we had somebody else, somebody outside our office reading all our resumes and scoring them on a rubric. But anyway, this just reminds me of me because I'm a bit of a grammar nerd. Punctuation. So how is professionalism judged? It is really situational in nature. So you have to be aware of your circumstances. You have to understand the expectations and the standards of where you are. And it's influenced by the culture of the organization. So sometimes, anyone heard of social learning theory? So social learning theory is basically, if I'm in a circumstance that's foreign to me and I don't really know what to do or how to act, I'm going to watch these people. I'm going to see what they're doing, right? And then I'm going to say, okay, that's a good representative sample. That's what I should be doing. Just a really simple example. At an airport, you know how every time you go through security, they change the rules every time. Is it my shoes? Is it my belt? Is it my change? What do I do, right? I mean, I always just look at what the person in front of me is doing and then I do the same thing. You know, why do I want to read a sign that's this long, right? So it's social learning behavior. So this will help you in the workplace. Be observant. See how other people react, respond, provide their input. And that's usually a pretty good indication of what's expected in the culture of that organization. So on professionalism, no surprise here, below or contrary to the standards expected in a profession. Anybody drag race fan? No one a drag race fan? Oh, okay. Well, you must know Latrice Royale and her rant about unprofessionalism. I couldn't resist adding that in. I love Drag Race. I could watch Drag Race every day. It's like America's Top Model meets American Idol meets Project Runway. You know, it's like all of those things all together. Anyway, some tips for professionalism. Be on time. In fact, I'm going to go further than that. I'm going to say be early, right? Be early, be prepared. So an example of this, I often have student appointments. So if you think you just show up in my office and I talk with you, you're mistaken. That's why I don't have appointments every day, because usually the day before, or sometimes if I'm pressed, it is that day, I look at what you're asking me. What did you want to talk about? Okay. Oh, I want to talk about this. If there's document review, I review the documents. I look to see, have I talked with you before? I look up my notes. What did we talk about before? Because I want to use our time wisely. Because I only got a half an hour. So prepare. Whatever preparation means to you, you need to do that in order to be competent and skillful in your job. Of course, be courteous. Again, dress within recommended parameters. Whatever the norm is for your work field is appropriate. Appreciate help. And I'm sure you've all met the type of person, and I've met them before in my life. You know, the kind of person who kind of covets their knowledge, like, I know about that and you don't. And they don't really want to share it, because sharing it kind of means that I lose the power, right? But lots of people do share their knowledge and willingly. And if they do, appreciate that help. And be aware of others. Be aware of others in your group. Make sure everybody's got some attention, some time, has had a say. Just be respectful in general. So some other professionalism tips. Monitor yourself. And I think what I mean by this is monitor your emotional expressions and responsiveness. So when I worked with the Institute for Healthcare Communication, we always did our classes in a U shape. So you could always see everybody. And one of my main facilitators would be up there talking. And I remember didn't know her very long. When she said to me after a class one day, she said, Catherine, I have to tell you, she said, you have what I call facial leakage. And I it sounds pretty dire, but I said, what do you mean? And she said, I can tell what you're thinking. I can tell when you're distressed. I can tell when you're angry or you think something stupid. And I wasn't really aware of that much animation. I really honestly was not. And I was so glad that she told me that. And I have to work sometimes at being a blank canvas. It's hard. It's very hard for me. But you do have to monitor yourself. So even if you think that the person in the front of the room is saying the stupidest thing in the world, it's probably a good idea not to show that with your face. Maintain composure, especially when you're challenged or something's gone wrong or, or attacked. And it happens sometimes, people get in high energy, high anxiety, high stress states. You have to maintain your composure. That's part of the maturity factor. Consider communication styles. Again, are you a pop in the office person? Are you, my colleague Alex, he's like 2 feet from me. When I first met him, he messages me on Teams and it's like, I'd say, Alex, can't you get up and just talk to me for a second? I mean, it's just, but that's his choice, right? He wants to do it that way. And it's funny, I just tell you one story about when I worked in health sciences here. One of the people for whom I worked was probably what you'd call volatile. And that's one of the types of personalities I don't deal well with when I don't know what I'm going to expect, and don't laugh, okay, this was before email was invented, all right? So when email was invented, it saved my life, and I ended up working for that person for 15 years. And people, residents, other students, staff in the clinic would say, oh my God, how do you deal with that? I'd say email, because I knew that if I said something and that person didn't know the answer in that moment, it would be like, there would just be almost an explosion. But if I can send it in an email and just say, take your time, get back to me, that's how the relationship was saved. So you need to think about communication styles with almost every person you meet, right? Be receptive to feedback. Of course, it's nice when you ask for the feedback, and I will give you feedback if you ask for it. I very rarely give unsolicited feedback. And if you do get unsolicited feedback, listen to it and think about it. And maybe it doesn't fit your cognitive map at that moment, but stick it in your back pocket, maybe for another day, because there might be something to it, but there might not, right? Okay, so feedback is important, but you yourself have to judge whether it's really meaningful. And always, always, always respect others' professional positions. Okay, it doesn't really matter. We have many different diverse people in my office. My thinking, I don't know whether anyone else thinks this, but in my mind, we're all the same. We're all like, there is not a hierarchy. Okay, that's how I see it. We have students, we have admin assistants, we have other people like me, we have directors, we have managers. I don't see the hierarchy. That's how I cope, because that's how I see my value. I feel that we're all important and we all contribute with our own strengths. So just a couple of notes, employer feedback. I've had this, make sure you clarify this when you go into working situations, know when you should take your breaks, or know when to, that you're allowed to use the phone or should be, or on social media. Be careful about, blind copying people or carbon copying or reply all. Find out what the culture is around those sorts of things, and you'll sort it out. So a little bit of a review. So these are our puzzle pieces. And this is, I think, if you remember back to our very first lecture, this was the takeaway. If you don't remember anything else about Tuku, remember that this is you. This is your accomplishments, your skills, your strengths, everything that is uniquely you that you're going to bring to the job, to the professional school, graduate school. And this is what the opportunities are looking for. So it's up to you to show your uniqueness in a way that fits the opportunity, right? That's what you have to think. You have to market yourself accordingly. Top 10 countdown from Tuku. I'm sure everybody's been waiting for this. So career development is not linear in any way. You know, you have to be ready to take a sidebar. Maybe you find a subject area that's really exciting or interesting, or you meet someone who distracts you with an idea. You know, go with it or don't. I mean, it's up to you, but don't expect it to be from point A to point B. You're going to have many different pathways along the way. So you aren't personally defined by your career or educational pathway. I can't emphasize this enough. Every one of us is unique, and you need to know how to express that. You know, yes, you get stuck in classes and you're experts in many areas and competent in many areas, but who else are you? Do you work? Do you volunteer? Are you a part of a community? Are you part of a group on campus? Do you dance? Do you sing? Are you an athlete? You know, who are you? And when you want to go grab all of those skills that we're looking for in co-op students, attitudes, the maturity, all of those kind of things, you get those types of things through any of those experiences. Okay, so don't let your degree define you. You are way, way, way more than that. Build bridges with anyone and everyone. Okay, so my last cookie. Which bridge is this? What bridge is this? No one for the cookie? Anyone online? No, okay. So this is a Confederation bridge, which connects New Brunswick to PEI. So, and I'm from PEI. This one didn't exist when I grew up. And getting off the island was a big ordeal. No, trust me, it was an ordeal. So many times you can't see the end of this bridge. And why I like this is because connecting with people, building bridges is kind of like that. Last week I talked about talking with the person who's sitting next to you on the bus, or sitting next to you in a restaurant, or it doesn't matter, whomever you're meeting. It might go somewhere. But you don't know. That's just it. You don't know. You have to take a risk and connect with those people and hope that there's something on the other side, right? But building those bridges, building those connections is essential for you to grow, develop not just your professional network, but your personal network, right? Think of it as kind of one and the same, just different purposes. And this one is very related to the last one. Don't be annoying, of course, but do put yourself in front of faculty, professors, TAs. Normally by this point in time in a classroom when we've spent 8 weeks together, I probably know about the names of about half the students. And we haven't had that opportunity because we haven't been together a lot. Now I know a few of you because I had interviews with you, or you've come and talked with me. So that's great, and I will remember you. That's just it. That's about connecting. So you need to do that with the people who will serve you to take your next steps. So talk to faculty, talk to your professors, be engaged in classes. Just be that person that they notice. Like, I noticed that you're always looking at me. That's great. I mean, it makes me feel like you're paying attention, right? And that's good. You just need to put yourself in front of your professors. Look out for yourself. Now, aside from your parents, who are I hope, at least I hope for you, that they are the biggest champions for you, regardless of who you are and what you do. But you do need to look out for yourself. And I'm going to say sometimes you're going to have to make hard decisions. And sometimes that's going to be about, just knowing what's best for you. And just a really quick example, my daughter was not happy with her job, and she got offered a new job but she was simultaneously applying for a master's program that she wanted to go to. And then when she took the new job for a year, but knowing full well that she might get accepted into the program, she just said, am I an asshole? I mean, and I said, no, because you don't know if you're going to get accepted. And, you know, you need to look out for yourself. And it's not that I'm not a person who likes to bail on commitments, but sometimes you do have to make hard decisions because you don't know what the outcomes are. So look out for yourself. Be strong and be confident. Feedback is a gift. How do you change unless you take in what's around you through students, through peers, through other staff, through family? They give you feedback and you change your behavior, and hopefully the output becomes a little different. Perfectionism isn't always realistic. I know many of us like to make sure every T is crossed and I dotted, but it's not always possible in the working world. And sometimes we have to submit that document that's not quite ready. And that's okay. You just have to realize that that will happen. Recognize and acknowledge mistakes, and rectify and mitigate the impact wherever possible, and definitely learn from it. Okay, that's really key. It's pretty easy to say, well, I didn't do it, or I wasn't touching that. And you know, for those of you with siblings, you've had that conversation probably a few times in your life, right? Own up to your mistakes. I did it. Yeah, and I'm going to fix it. Just in general, show up early, present yourself well, interact with everybody, and keep busy. So those are all just really key things. The keep busy part, I think, is an interesting one. Does anybody work in service? Or has worked in a service job before? Yeah. So I went to work at a appallingly young age. I worked at the Bonnie Gray restaurant in Cornwall, PEI, and we had to wear these horrible orange polyester outfits. And it was owned by this family, and so not only were the husband and wife, but they had 3 sons, and they were always watching us. And you never stopped. If you didn't have anything to do with customers and you were filling the salts or filling the ketchups or cleaning out the grease pan or doing something, and as much as I was annoyed and stressed by that at the time, I think that really does, it does help set your work ethic, you know, get her done well, earn your money. And I'm sure service work for many of you who have encountered it is still very much the same, although hopefully without the horrible orange outfit. So last bit here is STEM careers are always evolving and you will have to evolve with them. I mean, think of it. There are jobs that exist today that didn't exist 10 years ago. I mean, that's amazing, really. So I'm just waiting for my colleagues to show up. I don't know where they are. So let me just go through that. I just wanted to remind you of some of your resources. So science career and co-op education. We're here for all science students. Yes, we're here for co-op students, but we're here for all students. Okay, all students, don't forget that. We are not just the co-op. Okay, just one second. And then I also want to bring along to show you student success is also there to help. The academic office. And that brings us to the end of Science 2 CLO. And I would like you to invite you to introduce you to 2 of my colleagues. This is Chantal and Ryan. And they're working with us this semester on a number of important initiatives. But there's one that's really important, and we would like to enlist your help with this. And they're going to tell you all about that. I'm going to put up their slide deck. Just one sec. Technology is not my. There we go. Do you want to do the clicker?
Yeah, I think
Okay. All right. Take it away, guys.
Yeah, sure. So Catherine kind of already introduced ourselves, but my name is Ryan. I'm a third-year life science student doing my co-op term with the careers office. And we're here to just talk to you a little more about your science education, how you can turn that into your science career. No. What do I need to
On the
click?
slide deck itself.
Yeah, that's what I put.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
Cool. So what does the, I'm Chantal. I'm also an Earth and Environmental. I'm a third year and I'm just started working with the SCCE. So what does the SCC want for science students? Well, we want you to know what careers align with your program, get connected with the science community, gain professional science experience, recognize and be able to articulate your value and be ready for success. The SCC currently offers a variety of careers and services to all students within the Faculty of Science. I'm sure Catherine has informed you guys all through 2Q. But these services include career advising and career exploration sessions, cover letter and resume critiques, career information sessions and workshops, personal statement critiques, mock interviews, which are really helpful, and connecting you with future employers through events, career talks, and networking sessions.
Okay, so here we have a couple student stories of their just experience with SCCE. And the first one we have is from Rimzim, who was able to go to the SCCE and use a couple of their services. Like she got her resume reviewed and ended up doing a mock interview. And through that mock interview, she gained some great advice on how to answer some of the tougher interview questions and was able to secure a position that she was interested in.
And then Sue was able to work as a biology consultant on a project which involved collaboration between the McMaster biology students and the George Brown game design students. SCCE partnered with the biology to initiate and secure funding for this exciting project. Together, the students developed a video game called Cells at War, which will be used to teach aspects of biology. We believe that this is the start of many more exciting projects of this nature.
Okay, so here's the problem. The SCCE wants to ensure that every student is ready to land their first job or secure a place in the grad school or professional school that they want, but we don't currently have the funds that other faculties have. As you can see, we have the lowest out of every faculty at McMaster. So right now we can only provide you with what we can afford to, but not what you truly deserve.
I mean, really take that in. That's really important.
Yeah.
Look at that commerce.
I know.
Yeah, so we're basically looking to level up the career fee through a student referendum, and we're looking to increase it by around $25 a year. And from that, you would get 5 more career advisors on top of the 2, or really like 1.5 that you currently have. And these extra advisors would mean you'd gain increased knowledge of your career options based on things like your interests, your skill set, and the degree you're taking. You'd get better connections with potential employers, you gain professional skills to communicate your value, and just overall become better prepared for career success. Okay, so in conclusion, the SCC wants to empower you for your career success, and we're providing with what we can afford to, not what you deserve. So we're looking for your support so that we can support your future. So that QR code would take you to a really short survey, like 30 seconds, where you just put in your name, student number, and things like that. And this is not you voting to increase the fees. This is just you saying that you'd be interested in voting on this in the future. So if we have enough interest in it, then come September, at that time, you could vote yes or no. So now is the time where now's the time you take out your phone and scan it. Yeah.
We have to have so many students endorse this before we can even ask the question.
Yeah, exactly.
Really use your help. It'll benefit you guys a lot in the future.
Yeah, especially if I'm sure a lot of you are taking this class because you want to do co-op. And of course, co-op's really competitive. So if you end up not getting into co-op, which I hope everybody does, this will really benefit you then. Yeah, if anybody has any questions now or wants to ask me questions later, you can contact me at that email or ask me after class. But yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan and Chantal. It's really important that students bring this to students, and I really appreciate your help with that.
Have a good day, everyone.
So thanks, folks. That's the end of our journey together. We won't be here next week, but please do come and see me. See us we're right across the hall for your career needs. Maybe it's not this year, but maybe it's when you start thinking about graduate studies and you'll want a little bit of assistance with your, your statement of intent or wanting to look at some graduate studies in general. We are there to help. We've got great people and we want to build on it because as the student said, there's only me and Amr. And Amr is half-time in graduate studies. He works with the MFIMAT, the Masters of Financial Math program. So his half-time is to go to 15 students. So what happens to all the other 8,000 students out there? If every student wanted to come in and talk with us, we couldn't do it. But we want to be able to do it. And that's the thing. We really need to grow so that we can help you. Anyway, it's been lovely getting to know a few of you. Good luck with your Oh yeah, I asked Sam this morning. She said last week of March, she said it won't be till after the 28th when you hear, but the week of the 28th, you will definitely hear about your co-op status. So I hope that many of you have success in that. And even if not, there are other alternatives and we can help you with that too. Thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your semester. Don't forget your assignments. Thanks everybody online. We're done.